I've come to quite the painful realization the other day. I was playing Halo multiplayer with my brother and my dad, like usual, all of us getting together and playing it. We're going through Halo 3, Halo CE, Halo Reach, Halo 2, some Halo Infinite, and I realized something that crushed my soul. Halo's multiplayer kinda fucking sucks. And okay, before you start like coming at me, I'm not saying that the campaigns are bad. I still think Halo 1 is the greatest game of all time, just because of the mechanics on display and how seamlessly they turn into the gameplay loop while you're playing through it. The whole thing of balancing your plasmas, your kinetics, your shields, and health. That's immaculate. The enemy design, immaculate. Everything is perfect. But as soon as you get to the multiplayer, all of a sudden, when you don't have that brilliant enemy design and the weapons don't work in a way that makes you have to rely on plasma and kinetic and instead focuses you, or I should say better yet, forces you into playing one specific way, all that good that comes from that experience of playing the campaign just vanishes, and you're left with this repetitive, boring, high skill gap ceiling, crushingly difficult if you're not like immediately on the ball and know the map and know exactly where everything spawns. Just an experience that just isn't fun unless you're the one that's winning and you know better than the other person. And I'm under the firm belief that a good game is fun whether or not you're winning or losing, because there's something you're getting out of it. You're still playing the game. So today we're going to talk about all the problems with Halo Infinite's multiplayer, or I should say just Halo multiplayer in general, as in every Halo game, and talk about how other games avoid these issues, and then talk about some possible solutions. I'm Pliskin, let's get right into it. So, the core root of the problem, I feel, goes all the way back to Halo Combat Evolved. You see, once you get out of the campaign and once you go into the multiplayer, it's taken over by these precision weapons that invalidate the rest of the sandbox. Halo should never be centered around a single gun. The campaign is so much fun because let's say I'm in a situation where I see an elite and I need to take them down and I have an assault rifle and a plasma pistol. I know I can do the charged plasma pistol shot, and then I switch over the assault rifle to finish him off once he has no shields. That swapping between the two different types of weapons is what makes Halo so fun, doing a little bit of that mental math in your head before a fight. In the multiplayer, it's just you start off with this one gun, and unless you're in very niche scenarios, for example, unless you're in small hallways or controlling rooms where teleporters are with the shotgun, the pistol is going to be your go-to almost every single time. And this ties into another problem that spans across a lot of the Halo multiplayer experiences. Because of the reliance on precision weapons that can shoot across the map, it's very difficult to create safe spawn points. So there's a lot of situations where if someone knows the map and they know where you're going to spawn, right from the get-go with the weapons that they have, right at the start, they can just shoot you as soon as you spawn in. This feels cheap and unfair. So not only do these weapons invalidate other approaches, but because they have so much range over the map, even just getting into the match can be annoying. But it's not just these precision weapons. There's other weapons that have been added to Halo across the years that reinforce this style of play, that reinforce this need to focus on weapons that can shoot across the map. So the sandbox actively discourages diverse playstyles, which again is where Halo is at its best. When you're using multiple different weapons against multiple different enemies in different combinations, that's where the fun comes, in that diversity, in that mental math and decision making. So you have weapons, for example, like the Spartan laser, which just insta-kills vehicles in a lot of big team battle modes. And it's already bad enough that if you get into a vehicle in big team battle modes that you can just be pegged with precision weapons constantly that kill your turret man and kill you driving, like you have no protection from the base weapon that everyone has. But on top of that, you have weapons that are relatively easy to use that you can just blow up entire vehicles. Like, you get into a tank, you want to feel powerful in that tank. You get into a Warthog, you want to be a force to be reckoned with, right? But then if someone has a Spartan laser, and usually there's multiple Spartan lasers, they can just wipe you out right at the start there. It also doesn't help that the Spartan laser doubles as a precision weapon that can also shoot you from across the map. Again, reinforcing that playstyle of, okay, I can't really move much, I have to stay in these safe areas and just scope across the map, which isn't really that fun. On the note of Warthogs and turrets, these things need to have either a damage boost or a fire boost. Now, I understand that in a lot of scenarios you don't want a turret to be completely overpowered, because the whole point of this discussion and just balancing in general is to avoid overpowered weaponry. However, if I get onto a turret, I want to at least be able to know that if I aim this thing right and if I have my reticle on the targets, I'll be able to kill them. And when you're going up against vehicles, yeah, that works really well. But when you rip off the turret and you walk around feeling like a tank, you move slower, and that balances you by making you an easier target, which in Halo's landscape is completely broken, because if you're an easier target, precision weapons are just going to kill you. However, even in closer range encounters, whoever has like a DMR or battle rifle is going to kill me much faster than I'll be able to kill them with the turret. And I understand you don't want people to go around with a death machine, so maybe just increasing the fire rate, so I can get at least 1 or 2 kills and then it's out of ammunition, so I have to go back to a different strategy. Again, avoiding that tendency to just shift towards one weapon. Either way, something with these turrets needs to be buffed up a little bit. But the biggest sin and the biggest issue with different sandbox elements encouraging this precision weapon playstyle is that plasma weapons suck ass in multiplayer. Even if we go back to Halo Combat Evolved, the plasma rifle, yeah, you have that stun effect, but it takes too long to strip shields effectively and takes too long to switch to a different weapon that's kinetic to kill the Spartan in front of you. So a lot of the times it's much more effective to just use a precision weapon and shoot the enemy in the head to just go through their shields than it is to actually use the appropriate plasma weapons that strip shields and then switch to something that's kinetic and does that sort of damage. So plasma weapons across the board need more love. They need to be made as the competent shield strippers that they are. But stepping away for a second from these issues with these precision weapons and the other sandbox items that, validate them and invalidate everything else, let's go on to the topic of how when you lose hard. Once the enemy takes control of power weapons or points of interest on a map, there's little point in even trying, because there's no effective countermeasure. You spawn in, you die. You try to fight a certain way, you die. You go for a vehicle, they already have a Spartan laser, they laser you, you die. You spawn in a part of the map you feel is safe because it's far away, they scope you with a battle rifle and you die. So it gets to the point where when you're getting your ass kicked, it's almost impossible to turn the match around, and that makes you just want to put down the controller and play something else. Going back to these precision weapons, but still tying into this idea of difficulty, the skill ceiling, because of the emphasis on precision weapons and headshots while moving, is pretty high. So if someone's been playing this and has been practicing for a long time and they know to just, spam that battle rifle, and I'm playing for the first time and I want to try out all these weapons, I'm not gonna have a fun time. It's a hard lesson that you learn where it's like, okay, I have all these options, but I can't use them. I instead need to get good at this one option that I have, which is boring and frustrating to learn because, again, high skill ceiling. And the worst part is that the developers have been trying to fix this since the Bungie days. There's new innovative weapons that are put into Halo's sandbox, but because they're almost scared to deviate away from this precision weapon meta, these weapons never really get to shine. Think of the Halo Reach grenade launcher that has the controlled explosion and EMP effect. Think of the Pulse Carbine, which is a brilliant weapon. It's a precision weapon, however, it needs to work at mid-range. So it doesn't work at close range and it doesn't work at long range. And instead, in that middle ground there, it locks onto the enemy, strips their shields, and if you don't have time to switch over to another weapon, you can just keep on spraying till it overheats and it'll guarantee the kill. This is amazing, and this would fix 90% of Halo's like precision weapon meta. However, because weapons like the battle rifle and DMR exist, weapons like this that have to be used at a certain range are never going to stack up to broken weapons that work at long range, mid range, and short range. And don't even get me started on the Mangler. The Mangler was such a nice take on the idea of a magnum pistol in Halo and offered this new style of gameplay that was actually countering precision type weapons, and they nerfed it. Taking that, one shot, one hit kill into a two shot, one hit kill, giving the edge once again to weapons like the battle rifle. And this just keeps on bringing us back to precision weapons. They're treated like normal weapons when in reality they're broken power weapons that work at any range better than any weapon. Like if I have a shotgun and someone has an M60 Magnum in Halo CE and we're at close range, unless I'm like right up their ass, they're probably still gonna kill me. Same thing with Halo Infinite. If I'm coming at someone with the Bulldog but they have the battle rifle, they're probably still going to win, even at closer ranges, and that is horseshit. Before we start talking about certain solutions, even though they might seem obvious at this point, I think perspective is important. So let's go ahead and look at the competition. Let's look at other multiplayer games that do a lot of things better than Halo, and see what Halo can learn from them. Warzone's sandbox is a clusterfuck of excess and inconsistency, but multiple playstyles, whether you're playing as a rushing rifleman or SMG player, where you just have like those laser beam weapons and you're just dominating that mid-range, whether you're playing as a sneaky shotgun player, which is what I like to do with the Origin 12, or whether you're playing as a sniper. There's multiple different playstyle and ways that you can tackle the different objectives that you have, whether you're playing Plunder or Battle Royale. There's a lot of different playstyles based on those weapons and equipment that you pick up. Battlefield divides players into different classes that specialize in a given role. Snipers, riflemen, supports, that sort of thing. Certain weapons are locked into these classes. So even if you have a weapon that's like straight up killer and could be broken, it's going to be limited by the limitations of its class. So by having a class system like that, Battlefield avoids all players using one particular gun in one particular way and forces again that diverse style of play. Splitgate uses the portal mechanics to allow counters against enemy map control. So if you're trying to rush a point and you keep on getting slaughtered or headshotted, you can just use the different surfaces to open a portal and gain the advantage over the enemy. So you yourself can interact with the map to constantly try to put the game in your favor. It also makes its automatic close-range weapons arguably more powerful than its precision headshot weapons at close range, which is kind of how this is supposed to work. Nudge nudge, wink wink, Halo. The original Black Ops, if you didn't like the meta or how these different guns worked or how certain weapons were definitely much better than others, you could just turn on hardcore mode. In hardcore mode, basically every single gun kills everyone with one shot. So you could use whatever you want and adapt your playstyle around a more, I dare say, realistic, even though it's not really, style of play.
The frontier is worth every part of this fight.
But perhaps one of the greatest multiplayer shooter experiences I've ever had was with Titanfall 2. Titanfall 2 has a ton of OP weapons, but they bleed into multiple categories. So just because I might go around with the Spitfire doesn't mean I won't get my shit rocked in by a sniper or some guy using an overpowered SMG. So yeah, there's a bloated sandbox and it has its own issues there, but there's multiple different overpowered weapons, so it's not just battle rifle, DMR, M60, it's, some LMGs, some SMGs, some assault rifles, some grenade launchers, some snipers. There's, again, diversification of gameplay. Again, you have different class abilities that encourage different playstyles. So for example, if I'm just starting off the game, I might want to use just the grapple hook that allows me to move faster. Some players can take classes that make them invisible. Some players can phase through things and make themselves really more mobile. Some players can just heal up. So you have these different modifiers that are happening and going on, which Halo has done in the past. However, it works in Titanfall 2, and it doesn't work in games like Halo Reach because Titanfall 2 still has that sandbox with different weapons being equally viable, whereas in Halo Reach you have these different classes and, it's still just DMR or die. For newer players, the AI that's on the map ensures that everyone gets to contribute to their team. So if I don't really know what I'm doing and I'm just jumping into this game for the first time and I can't go up against enemy players or pilots, I can go after the AI that's on the map and still accumulate points for my team that allows me to level up, get practice, and just generally get better. It's like if Halo Infinite's practice, I forget what it's called, like the boot camp mode? Like if it's bot boot camp mode and multiplayer were fused into one, into this weird kind of big team battle AI player hybrid. And then of course, if the different weapons being overpowered wasn't diverse enough gameplay enough for you, you also have the actual Titans, which have their own meta, playstyles, strengths, and weaknesses, which are balanced very nicely in this multiplayer setting, and the slower paced and harder hitting nature of the Titans differentiate them from playing as a pilot. Titanfall 2 also has it where that even if you're losing, you have this special kind of epilogue mode where you and your teammates, if you're on the winning side, you need to hunt down whoever's alive on the losing side. So it's a little bit of an extra objective and a nice way to kind of push it in their face that you won. On the other hand, if you're the losing team, you need to escape on a ship that allows you to get out of there. So it's kind of like a saving face moment where you think, okay, I lost, but do I want to cover my teammates while they escape? Do I want to make a run for it? Do I want to try to get a couple more kills on the winning team? Like there's still more of a reason to play even if you're losing. If more games utilize this, i.e. Halo, it would make me want to keep the controller in my hand even if I'm getting my shit kicked in big team battle by a team that has complete control of the map. Because everything changes all of a sudden, the dynamic, the objective, there's something new for me to do. And again, diversification of gameplay. So now that we've talked about a bunch of games that do their multiplayers better than Halo, how do we fix Halo in the sense of its multiplayer experience? I had a much higher opinion of Halo's multiplayer before I started playing it online. Back when I was growing up and it was just, split screen. And whether I was playing with a friend that could kick my ass or a friend who I could kick their ass, it always had this aura of fun to it. It always had this back and forth. It was never as one-sided as it can be sometimes online. And this kind of couch co-op and split screen gameplay is honestly where I feel Halo is at its peak. LAN parties and split screen. That is Halo, and that's why it was such a big deal when it wasn't in Halo 5. But I think we can still make Halo fun with its multiplayer. We can still carry around that aura of I want to play this for longer periods of time that you get with its split screen couch co-op experience just by tweaking what happens in the multiplayer a little bit more and keeping it closer to the core tenets of Halo. The first thing that comes up, the first major and easiest solution is to nerf the precision weapon meta. Let's get more weapons like the pulse rifle that are dependent on certain ranges to work well, and get less weapons like the battle rifle, DMR, and M6D that work in every single situation you're in. Let's make precision weapons niche to their one role. And if you want to have that starter weapon that scopes in that everyone has, look no further than how ODST balanced out its SMG. You notice how you still had the small 2x scope and it was still able to go across the map, however when you were shooting it was a lot weaker? Imagine if everyone had their assault rifles that could scope in a little bit. It was still the damage that an assault rifle does, and you still need to control the recoil at ranges, but it still allows you to shoot across those distances so you're not stuck just, looking at people from across the map at the start of the game and not being able to do anything. But make these guns weaker. Make it so that if I'm scoping in and shooting at you with this assault rifle or this ODST styled weapon, that I need to empty out the entire mag just to wear down your shields. Because while that does give me the option to attack you, it also incentivizes me to pick up plasma weapons to strip down your shields faster so I can use this weapon better. This is going to be a bit of a hot take, but I don't think we need a human pistol. Halo devs have been struggling with how to balance a human pistol, a kinetic pistol in Halo, since Combat Evolved. And while the sidekick is an impressive way to, reconcile a lot of these issues with the pistol, I don't really think we need a human pistol. I think for that weaker sidearm role, something like the plasma pistol or hell, even the disruptor, that's more about just knocking down shields at the start of the game at closer ranges, and then, older iterations of the plasma pistol that had other uses such as EMP blasts and stuff like that, serve much better within the Halo context for pistols than a traditional pistol would, because there's just such a high chance of it turning to another headshot weapon, and we don't want that. We need more counters for losing teams. Whether it's something like the epilogue mode in Titanfall 2, where even if you do get your ass kicked, there's still an objective to go after, or if it's something along the lines of the portals in Splitgate, there just needs to be something that I, as the losing team, can do to counter and, if not save the day, at least save some face, or start turning the tide in my favor. One-shot kill weapons, unless they're very specific weapons like sniper type weapons like the beam rifle or the sniper rifle or even the shock rifle where you need to get a headshot to get a one-shot kill, all one-shot weapons should be slower or clunkier. Those snipers, they're slow, they're clunky, you have to zoom in, and moving around is not going to be as easy as it would be with a battle rifle. But stuff like the Spartan laser should not exist. I like the skewer because unless you're hitting like a person, which is very difficult to do, again with that slower and clunkiness, it's going to be a two-shot kill on most vehicles. Rockets are also a really good example because the projectile travels really slow. But again, weapons like the Spartan laser that just invalidate vehicular play suck, and we really don't want any quick one-shot kills, because then the multiplayer experience basically becomes playing with sniper jackals. And anyone that's played through Halo 2 or 3 on Legendary can tell you how much fun that is. On the note of vehicles, I should feel powerful in vehicles. Halo Infinite has recently buffed them up a little bit more, and I like the way they use the counters with electric weapons or multiple hits from the skewer to take vehicles down, but in the past we've seen way too many examples of weak vehicles in Halo, so that's one thing where I feel a little optimistic that 343 is actually understanding and working on to improve. I should always aim to carry a plasma and kinetic weapon on me. Of course, electric weapons are now in the mix. I'm going to put them in the same realm as plasma because they're really stripping shields, they just work a different way. But I should have two of those basic different types of weapons on me at all time. If I'm going to be using an assault rifle, I should always be carrying a plasma pistol with me. If I'm going to be using a pulse carbine, I also want to have a shotgun on me, or a human pistol counterpart, so on and so forth. So whether my long range role is dedicated to plasma or kinetic, or my short range role is dedicated to plasma or kinetic, they should both feed into each other and play a specific role. If one's plasma, the other should be kinetic. That is the core of Halo. And if we're going to keep in precision weapons, like the DMR, battle rifle, or M6D, they should suck balls at close range. If you're going to put in a weapon into the game that everyone starts with that is really good for scoping across the map, you should be at a serious disadvantage if you try to square up with someone at point-blank range with that weapon. So in conclusion, precision weapons suck. Halo's multiplayer needs to make some radical changes. We need to stop being afraid to let go of some of these things in the past. The battle rifle, there's a lot of good memories with it. Halo 1 pistol, that sort of thing. But if 343 in the future wants to start including more weapons like the pulse rifle, and stepping back from weapons like the battle rifle, we shouldn't attack them just for the sake of nostalgia. I agree that they've made decisions in the past that make Halo feel like something that isn't really Halo. But if they're just trying to do something in this scenario where they're trying to improve Halo, improve the sandbox, and make the multiplayer better than it ever was, we need to make sure we're not standing in their way for that. So, there's a lot of things to poke fun at 343 for and give them shit for, but if in the future they start trying to make these changes and eliminating that precision weapon meta, don't give them shit. Don't be that guy. This game can be so much more, Don't be part of the reason that holds it back. Otherwise, everyone's just gonna go start playing Warzone and Titanfall and all these other much better alternatives. This has been Pliskin. Over and out.